G'day folks, Matt Leger here, back with another episode of what I'm calling Philosophy Corner. After the last video, I decided to make a playlist, and yeah, I said it myself in the last video, Philosophy Corner, and here we are. So hopefully you're enjoying the series so far. This is episode number 2, and we're going to tackle another very difficult topic today, which is going to be fulfillment. I don't know how else to say it. Your actualization as a human being on this earth. We're going to talk about things like your purpose in life. What does that mean? What does meaning mean, right? This is getting a little macro at this point, but you get what I'm saying. What is the meaning of life? Why are we here? Those are very, very difficult questions to answer. And as we'll look at here in a moment, they're very personal. It's a very personal question and obviously a very personal answer in turn. So these are the kind of heavy hitting topics that I'd like to discuss on this series. I would love to get engagement going with the audience and get a dialogue here, a back and forth going with the community. These videos eventually will not live on YouTube exclusively, but they will be found on my website. But just to kind of garner some interest right now at this point and get the ball rolling, I thought I would put a few videos out on YouTube and see if we can get a conversation going. Because this is, again, these are very heavy hitting topics. They're very difficult answers to questions that we all, or most of us anyway, have. And again, I need to preface all this by saying that I don't necessarily have all the answers. I have the answers for me. And I can kind of go through the process of how I arrived at my own answers. But don't think for a second that I'm going to give you the answer that you need. I may show you the path, as they say, but you need to walk that path. So anyway, I just wanted to make that clear. I'm not going to profess like I know all the answers. And actually, the first topic of conversation here that we're going to talk about is keeping shit real. Okay? Now, if you look to others for inspiration, you will find lots of it in the world, okay? As I said in the previous video, I'm a bit of a spiritual mutt. What I mean by that is I'm not limited to one religion or one faith or one philosophy. I believe that the human mind needs to be free. It needs to not be confined with dogmatism and indoctrination. I forget who quoted this, but there's a wonderful quote out there that says basically, I'm going to massacre it now, but I'm paraphrasing. The human mind must be loose. It has to be loose. It cannot be confined by dogmatism. Okay, look that one up. I'm sure you can find it, and it explains it way better than I could. But that's the general idea, is that your mind needs to be loose. It needs to be able to find answers and then trash those answers and rebuild from scratch. And you need to constantly change your understanding of yourself and the world and yourself within the world and yourself as the world. There's a lot of different ways we could go here. But essentially what I wanted to discuss is I made a discovery recently that really resonated true with me, is that, we all take inspiration from others, be it a guru, a sage, a wise man or woman, a priest, a shaman, it doesn't matter, a teacher, a parent, a grandparent, right? We all seek wisdom from others, generally those that have more either experience or insight than we do. And that's, one of the basic elements that allows for human evolution, is that we don't just learn from our own experiences. We learn from the experiences of everybody around us, which is really magical if you think about it. For those of you that are parents, you know this very well. Trying to teach your kids something to spare them a little bit of grief or a little bit of suffering. Follow in my footsteps. I've made those mistakes. Learn from me so that you don't have to suffer in the same way. Now, if you're a parent, you know that your kids are not always going to listen to you. Sometimes they very rarely will listen to you when it comes to things like that. And they need to walk their own path. They need to make their own mistakes, like we talked about in the last video. They need to be able to discover some of those things themselves. And that's perfectly acceptable. That's fine. That's not something that you need to take offense over and say, oh, why don't my kids listen to me? And I know how frustrating it is, trust me. That's because we're good parents. We want the best for our kids. We don't want them to suffer needlessly. What parent wants their kid to suffer needlessly? Nobody. However, kids need to be able to make mistakes because it's not realistic to think that you're going to go through life without making mistakes. I make mistakes every day, but the difference is I learn from them. And I really try hard not to make the same mistake twice. Not saying it doesn't happen, right? It happens to the best of us where we screw up in the same ways, right? We just can't get out of that rut. I've been there. I'm still there. Trust me. I'm as human as you are. But you have to have a certain level of determination and you have to respect yourself enough to not want to do those same mistakes over and over again, right? When I see my kids doing those sorts of things, I get frustrated because I want them to understand that you don't have to suffer that way. It's really a choice at that point because you've already been through it once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times, maybe 5, 10 times, and you're still making those same mistakes. It's because you're not learning from it. You're not open to being able to receive that information and change your behavior. That's what it comes down to, is changing behavior is fucking hard to do. We all know it. You know, they say 6 to 8 weeks to pick up a new habit. You know, could be less, could be more. How many of those habits are good habits that we pick up, right? Probably few compared to the bad ones that we pick up left, right, and center. So where I'm getting at with all this is that, yes, you can draw inspiration from your gurus and your sages and your wise people in life and your elders. I'm not saying don't do that, right? But understand that those people are also not perfect and that they are human just like you. They are flawed. And one thing I really enjoyed that I heard recently was that, you know, even your wisest gurus out there, you know, I don't want to always use the word guru, it's just what comes to mind, but your life coaches out there, let's say, in the Western world, we call them life coaches, right? Well, your wisest life coach out there should be wise enough to tell you that they are flawed, that they make mistakes, that they have bad habits, that they have their own vices, right? There's a lot of monks out there that drink alcohol, that smoke cigarettes. I heard I don't know where I saw this recently, but there's some community of monks out there that are smoking meth. You know, like what? At first, it's like, what the hell? A monk smoking meth? But who am I to judge that? Who am I to criticize that? I'm not there. I'm not that monk. I don't know what they've been through in their life, the discoveries that they've made. Maybe they're hitting some nirvana out there that was long thought to be unattainable, and they've combined it responsibly with methamphetamine in such a way that it gives them this spiritual experience that just blows everything out of the water. Why would I want to criticize that, right? It's your life, it's your body. You do what you want, right? As long as you're not hurting anybody else, as long as you're adhering to the golden rules, what the hell do I care? You know? So if some monk on the other side of the world wants to do some meth and meditate for 14 hours and reach enlightenment and talk to God, all the power to you, right? But the point I'm making here is that that monk is not a perfect being. That monk is not God incarnate, right? And that's where I have trouble accepting our prophets as being aspects of the divine. I believe that we all have a spark of the divine within us. In a certain sense, we are God manifesting in this physical form. Yes, I would agree with that. But we are not God, right? God is God is the spirit of humanity, if you will. Or one of the aspects of God is the spirit, the overall human spirit, right? In Celtic shamanism and shamanism in general, you realize when you look into these animist um, teachings that everything has a spirit, right? Your anxiety has a spirit. Your depression has a spirit. Your um, your effectiveness at your job has a spirit. Your table has a spirit. Your computer has a spirit. Now, it seems counterintuitive. It seems silly to think, oh, everything has a spirit. But really, everything has that sort of underpinning level of energy that makes it what it is. So, for example, again, in Celtic shamanism and just shamanism in general, there are overarching spirits. So, for example, one of my teachers has a few times talked about the wolf spirit, and the wolf spirit is not the spirit of a wolf or a pack of wolves. It's the spirit of all wolves, and it actually encompasses dogs as well, because dogs came from wolves. They evolved from wolves. So when a dog dies, their spirit returns to the great wolf. And when we die, our spirit returns to the great human, which is God. Another way of saying God is nature, right? With a capital N. To me, and I believe this to be my truth, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's an objective truth, because again, I'm open to learning new things. I'm not going to say that what is my truth is your truth. I believe that there are some objective truths that we can all agree on, and that you'd really be kind of an idiot if you didn't believe those things. But this is one of those truths that is deeply personal for me. So I would not dare push it, on anybody else. But the human spirit, the overarching human spirit to me is God, which is the same thing as saying nature. Now, is that the same thing as saying earth as an organism, as a planet, as a conscious being? Maybe. I'm not there yet myself. I think that Gaia, the planet, the spirit of the planet is a separate thing than nature, than what we call God. And that maybe Gaia is an aspect of our God. This is all speculation. These are just my own personal theories that I'm still developing, and I'll probably still be working on, till the day I die. But again, I keep sort of getting off on a sidetrack here, but what I want to make clear is that there are no perfect people on this planet. There is not a single perfect person on this planet, okay? And those of you who are Christian, you may say that there was once a perfect human, Jesus. That's possible. But right now, as it stands, there are no perfect people. Now, why I bring this up is that your wisest guru, your wisest teacher, your life coach has flaws. They make mistakes, whether they want to admit it or not. They don't have all the answers, just like I don't have all the answers, and nobody does. So your best guess on what's happening in your life or what's happening in the world is just as valid as my best guess. Now, where we meet in the middle is where you can find some truth. And I think that, again, looking at it from an animistic perspective, God is the human spirit. So if you're going to commune with anything, right, commune with nature, commune with your own species' overarching spirit. Does that not make sense? That makes perfect sense to me. But it seems like we're we're too reliant on ourselves to solve all the problems. And again, we know that we don't have all the answers. So why would you rely on yourself? Now, I'm not saying don't give yourself personal power. I'm not saying don't trust yourself or don't look for the answers within. I believe that most, if not all, of the answers can be found within by soul searching and meditating and contemplating things and being mindful in the moment. But there's so much more to learn from just talking with other people, because they're all going to pull something different from God. They're all going to experience a different side of nature than what you'll experience. And that's why I say where we meet in the middle is where the truth can be found. Because this sort of the middle is where it harmonizes everybody's philosophy and everybody's theories on life. The truth is there in the middle if you can just be receptive to it. So I love that idea. I love the idea that the people that I learn the most from are flawed individuals just like me, that make mistakes, that screw up on a regular basis, that have their vices, because it's a hard road to think that you're going to someday reach some harmony, some perfection, some equilibrium, some balance in your life. And again, it's not to say don't strive for those things. Strive for it. Strive for balance. I think that's an important thing. But to think that you're going to someday reach this plateau where everything's going to be fine, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And I think that's where we end up falling into depression and stuff, is thinking that this day is going to come. It's never going to come. You're always going to be learning. You're always going to be changing the way you do things. You're going to be changing the workings within. You're going to be refining the operations of the heart. You're going to be sharpening those senses, and you're going to be heightening your soul to different levels, and really learning how to work with your spirit and not against it. So it has to be a fluid process. It has to be something where you're open to change. You're open to improving to a certain degree, right? I think it was on Fight Club or something where it said self-improvement is masturbation. There's truth to that. You have to kind of just accept at one point and say, I'm good enough, right? I'm good enough for now. I don't need to really do anything else. I'll keep learning and I'll keep improving, but I like me. I like who I am. And that's really hard for a lot of people. That was really hard for me for a lot of years, is being okay with myself, being okay with the way I look, being okay with the way I sound, being okay with the way I feel sometimes. It's not easy. But the more you work at it, the sooner you'll get there, and the more the faster you can just move on to more important things, because that's only a small fraction of what it is to be human, is accepting yourself, and it's really sad that it takes some people a whole lifetime to get there. I was one of those people. I was not fully appreciative of who I am and accepting of myself until my 40s. So that gives you an idea. That's a lot of years. That's half my life I spent struggling with just, issues with identity and anxiety again, and depression, and racking my brain to understand what the hell is this thing we call life? What am I doing here? What is the point of all this? And this is where I'm going to start wrapping up the video. What is the point? What is the point? What is the meaning of life, right? Everybody wants to answer that question. And I think there are no two answers that are going to be the same with that. Because everybody has to ask themselves that question, and everybody has to find their own answer to that question. Everybody's question is going to be slightly different, and everybody's answer is going to be slightly different. Sometimes very different from one to the next, right? If I ask this question to someone in Saudi Arabia, I'm going to get a very different answer than if I ask somebody in the United States or in the UK, right? So what is the meaning of life? That's up to you. That's up to you to figure out. I can tell you that life wants to exist. Okay. That's not an answer in and of itself, but that will lead you towards your own answers, is just accepting the fact that life wants to be. And that's not just humans, that's found everywhere in the world. Every opportunity that life has to exist, it takes it. So life is inherently opportunistic. Now, if you understand that you are a manifestation of life, that you are a part of that, and really you're a part of something that's a part of you, it's all the same thing, then you can really start to draw inspiration and meaning from that alone, and that will kind of guide you towards your own personal answers, I believe. So that's saying a lot, maybe not saying a lot at all, right? But being that I'm open to receiving teachings from all faiths, all religions, all philosophies, I can tell you that there is no one-stop shop, okay? What works for me will not work for necessarily everybody else. What works for everybody else damn well doesn't work for me. I can tell you that with certainty, because I like to take the road less traveled. So what works for the masses does not work for me. I have to find my own way. And if you can get some meaning in your life from the collective, from the greater, human experience, all the power to you. But if you're looking for that really personal meaning in life that speaks to you, that speaks to your heart and your soul, there's no other way to find the answers than to look for yourself. You're not going to read it in a book. You're not going to hear it from a priest. There's no one else out there that has the answers for you. You got to look within. You got to expose yourself to as many different things as you can until you find something that resonates with you, and then you run with it. So don't be limited by dogmatism. Don't let yourself be indoctrinated. Experience a pure human life. What does that mean? That means shutting off your fucking TV, turn off the computer once in a while, disconnect, go out in nature, and just experience what it is to be human in the world without all the attachments, without all the desires and the technology and the things that bog us down and weigh us down, and that are really not us, right? They're things that we do, but then there's things that we are, and those are the things that you need to find to really discover your own personal meaning in life. Again, that was a lot. I feel like we covered that stuff really fast, and that's a heavy topic, another heavy hitter. But let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your comments, your feedback, and let's get a dialogue going. Yeah. And also feedback for this series. Any requests out there if anybody wants to go over a particular topic. If you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer them, and we can kind of take it from there. Thanks for your time. Be well, everybody, and we'll see you next time.